As soon as the girl came of age, her uncle forced her into a marriage with a nobleman. But her fiancé was a decrepit, elderly Earl. To get out of the marriage, she decided to create a scandal with the estate's gardener. It would be best if she could have a child. That way, she could also receive a hefty sum of money. She thought this would all go smoothly. But unexpectedly, she was rejected 3 times in a row. No matter how much she pleaded, it was no use. The gardener simply wasn't interested in her. And in his eyes, this whole scenario was just a carbon copy of a plot from one of the novels he'd read. Countless women had been willing to give up all their wealth to marry him. But he had rejected every single one. You see, the gardener's true identity was Duke Theodore. He was only working here as a gardener to escape his grandmother's matchmaking. One day, Duke Theodore received a letter from his grandmother. He had already received over 10 of these boring letters. The content was always the same. Get married as soon as possible. Theodore felt that marriage was a meaningless affair. And besides, he didn't believe in love. While chatting with a friend, Theodore learned that Harrows was going to work as a gardener during the holidays. This friend of his had a quirk. He just couldn't sit still. And he'd also heard that there was a river there that was perfect for swimming. Theodore recalled what a comrade in arms had once said to him. You, my friend, don't seem to have much attachment to life. Theodore didn't quite understand at the time, so he asked what he meant by that. His comrade felt that he seemed to view life too lightly. Instead of meticulously planning everything, why not just follow his heart and do what he wanted to do? Go, follow your heart. Or your impulses. Any fleeting thought is what your heart truly desires, his comrade had assured him. Something truly wonderful is about to happen. It was because of his comrade's words that Theodore changed his mind. He decided to go with Harrows to the castle and work as a gardener. A week flew by. A middle-aged man was endlessly complimenting a young woman's appearance. And this woman was Vanessa. If you were pleased with her, can we proceed according to plan? However, it seemed the Earl wanted to do one thing before the wedding, and that was to verify if his bride was still a virgin. These utterly humiliating words made Vanessa lower her head. What a filthy, disgusting man, she thought. But her own uncle was even more disgusting for trying to marry her off to that old Earl. You see, a long time ago, after Vanessa's parents passed away, her inheritance consisted of a mountain of debt and an arranged marriage. Since she was a child, her uncle had controlled every aspect of her life, including her food, clothing, and daily activities. And upon her coming of age, he would also arrange her marriage. Vanessa could only let him do as he pleased. The feeling of disgust was so strong it made her want to vomit. Vanessa went to a pomegranate tree, unable to believe at the moment she came of age. She was being put on a shelf like a piece of merchandise. Just then, a pomegranate fell and landed beside her. For some reason, this simple event resonated deeply within Vanessa's heart. She was just like this fallen pomegranate, like a defective product. But Vanessa soon noticed something else. Smoke was rising from the pomegranate tree. Was someone smoking up there? To satisfy her curiosity, Vanessa decided to go and take a look. As a result, Vanessa saw a face so exquisitely perfect it was beyond reproach. A gentle breeze blew past. This was their very first meeting. Vanessa couldn't help but sigh in admiration. What a handsome face. But who was this person in front of her? Vanessa saw the pruning shears next to the man. He must be a new gardener. Her gaze also caught Theodore's attention. The two of them stared at each other for a long time. Vanessa was the first to speak. Hello? Before she could finish, the maid who had been chasing after her interrupted. My lady, what are you doing here, Mary? There's a very strange man over there. However, Vanessa discovered, the man from before had vanished. She even suspected that no one had been there at all. But the unextinguished cigarette butt on the ground convinced Vanessa she wasn't mistaken. In the blink of an eye, another week had passed. Holos noticed something strange recently. That lady Vanessa, she seems to have been looking for you for a week now, hasn't she? It seems she has something to say to you. Perhaps you should talk to her. Theodore seemed quite narcissistic. Do I really need to get involved in some boring story about love at first sight? The thought alone is so cliché. But Holos thought, that lady over there seems completely mesmerized by you. Wouldn't it be better to just admit you're not a gardener? But Theodore didn't want to reveal his identity. For this reason, he had specially moved into a humble little cabin. Holos was completely baffled. You have such a huge villa, yet you won't live in it. Why do you insist on squeezing in here with me? But what Holos didn't know was, if Theodore's identity was exposed, he would be forced to go back and get married. To him, this was a terrifying prospect. Compared to that, Theodore much preferred this kind of life. Holos couldn't understand. What's so fun about this godforsaken place? This dilapidated corner of the world. Everything is second-rate. It's perfectly suited for a bit of undignified escapism. Growing fruit in this mansion is such a tasteless affair. Every hallway is filled with tacky decorations, and the carpets underfoot are cheap and worn. Even the family crest hanging on the wall is brass, not gold. However, if one were to speak of anything truly valuable in this place of extreme vulgarity, just as Theodore had this thought, someone appeared behind him. It was Vanessa. Vanessa had a hesitant expression, and her face was slightly flushed. "Excuse me, could I have a word with you?" There seemed to be an awkward atmosphere in the air. Theodore, using the alias Holos, turned to leave. "I'm sorry, my lady. I'm very busy at the moment." But this time, Vanessa didn't let him leave as he wished. "Please wait, Holos. I have a proposal for you." This piqued Theodore's interest. "My lady, what is your proposal?" Before Vanessa said what she had to say, her body was trembling slightly. She slowly held up a pomegranate. In an extremely shy tone, Vanessa uttered a shockingly bold statement. "Holos, I want to buy you." Time flashes back to 7 days ago. Vanessa's companion, Rosalind, had thought of an idea for her. "If you don't want to accept this marriage, you could dress yourself a bit more crudely. If you're willing, I can lend you the dress my grandma wore 1,000 years ago." Blair, who was beside her, was curious. Why would you keep a dress your grandmother wore 10 years ago? The two of them were trying to figure out a way for Vanessa to ruin this arranged marriage. Vanessa missed their school days, when they could joke around like this. "Not a single worry in the world. My uncle has probably been wanting to use me as his little pawn all along." The room was silent for a long while before Blair came up with an idea. "What if we announce that you're my lover?" This took Vanessa by surprise. "Are you sure you want to be lovers with a woman who's been labeled a villain?" This was Blair's idea. "If you already belong to someone, they can't touch you. Especially if that person is the heir to the Winchester family." Rosaline strongly agreed with the idea. "As long as you belong to someone, they really can't touch you. You two can pretend to date. After all, in this world, they place great importance on a woman's virtue." At that moment, Blair glanced at Vanessa. Judging by her expression, it seemed she was actually considering it. So he added, "Vanessa, if you ever feel like you can't take it anymore, just let me know. My sister and I will do everything in our power to help you. To have these two as my good friends is truly an honor, but I can't, just to get myself out of a marriage, drag you two down with me. That is absolutely not going to happen. But if I want to escape this kind of marriage, it seems that besides this plan, there is one other way, and that is to create a scandal for myself." Just then, my eyes lit up. I saw a gardener trimming branches not far away. He was the same man I saw under the tree the other day. If I remember correctly, that should be Mr. Ross's nephew. His name is River Ross. The moment I saw him, I had an idea. I decided to make him my target. Besides, judging by his features, the man is also very handsome, though I've heard his family isn't well off. So, I began to follow River Ross. According to my people, he served as a petty officer in the Navy and recently participated in the Battle of Potsdam. He was granted extended leave for his merits. It seems he's using his time off to help Mr. Ross with his work. The maids in the castle were all in a frenzy because this new employee is incredibly handsome. But he seemed a bit unfamiliar to me, not like the child I remember. It turns out, more than 10 years ago, when I was a child, I had a playmate. That person was River Ross. But back then, he was just a crybaby. He looks completely different from how he is now. I thought it over and over. But I couldn't figure out why a person could change so much. It's a good thing I know him. This whole business seems much more manageable now. If there's something you don't want to be sold, you just have to make sure no one can buy it. So, I need to create a fatal flaw, so they're unable to purchase this product. I made a decision in my heart. In that sense, River Ross is the perfect choice, for more reasons than one. And physically, he is simply perfect. It was as if God himself had sent an apostle to save me. So I had Mary go inside first. "I have something to say to Mr. Ross." Mary was a little bewildered. What on earth did the madam want to say? Back to the present. "What do you mean, buy me?" "I mean it literally. Be my lover for this summer. I will give you enough money." My blunt words left Theodore somewhat stunned. What on earth was this woman in front of him thinking? And looking at her hands, they seemed very nervous. "Mrs. Vanessa, let's skip the pleasantries that make us both uncomfortable. Let's get straight to business." So I explained the whole situation to him. I need a scandal big enough to ruin my marriage. I want to be completely removed from the marriage market. So, it would be even more perfect if this scandal resulted in a child. I will ensure that you are fully compensated for being dragged into my scandal. Afterward, I will also guarantee your safety and well-being. Once the summer is over, we'll act as if none of this ever happened. This piqued Theodore's interest. He slowly took my hand in his. "What if, when the summer is over, I'm still reluctant to leave you? What should we do then? Please answer my question, Mrs. Vanessa." His words made me blush completely. "Are you saying that even after it's all over, you won't grow tired of me?" "I think that's impossible. Also, I would be grateful if you could treat me properly, like a lady." But Theodore said, "If you want to earn respect, you should have come to me with a better offer, instead of devaluing yourself. And even offering to pay." But at that moment, all I could offer was money. Hearing this, Theodore was taken aback. In fact, he had heard quite a few things about this woman over the past few days. Earlier, while Theodore was trimming branches, he had overheard the maids below discussing these things. "This is really too much, isn't it? Did an old man come over today?" Almost every few days, some old nobleman comes to the castle to size up that young lady. It's as if she was put on the trading block the moment she came of age. I have a pension in my name. If I have a child, I can apply to receive it now. Once I receive it, I will, for 5 consecutive years, give you a sum of money each year. And besides the pension, I have other ways of making money. So if you have a certain number in mind. Theodore cut her off before she could finish. Here's the problem. I understand your situation is difficult, but I'm not that hard up for cash. I suddenly felt this man was so difficult to deal with that I didn't know what to do. Helpless, I could only say those words. I know your uncle, Ross, has been embezzling the maintenance funds. He's also spent quite a bit under the guise of garden upkeep, hasn't he? A scene suddenly flashed through Theodore's mind, that time with Ross and his uncle. In the end, Lady Vanessa's proposal was just another version of a story he'd heard 1,000 times, just like many in high society who had tried before her. The wealth and glory I can bring you far exceed what she can offer. I have loved you deeply for a long time. I want to be the one to heal all your childhood traumas. Lines like these, Theodore had lost count of how many times he had heard them. And he was sick of this feeling. He also hated women like that. But in comparison, this woman in front of him was a little different from the rest of that crowd. Vanessa had at least proposed a rather interesting option. She wanted to buy him. Perhaps for that reason, Theodore wanted to get to know this woman better. But just then, Theodore washed his hands of the matter. What does the money my uncle embezzled have to do with me? I couldn't believe that even this method wouldn't work on Kalis. Isn't Mr. Ross your uncle? Are you saying you're not going to help him? Theodore felt that if you were hoping for something to happen between us, you shouldn't use such clumsy threats or intimidation. This disgusting perfume is making me uncomfortable. Kalis, isn't that a little ungentlemanly of you? But what Kalis said next shocked me. You should be confessing your feelings to me directly. But I didn't agree with his suggestion. If I don't love him, but I have to say that I do. Isn't that just lying? Those words made Theodore's forehead break out in a cold sweat. As you can see, Ms. Vanessa, it seems our negotiations have failed. I quickly told Kalis to wait. Do I just need to fall in love with you? If I do, you'll agree, is that it? He just gave a meaningful smile. Who knows? Are you threatening me right now, or are you confessing to me? If I feel nothing for you, then this all comes to an end. Isn't that right? I had no idea what Kalis was talking about. Why was he being so cryptic? Just then, he grabbed the back of my neck. Under the morning sun, Kalis actually pressed his lips against mine. At first, the situation stunned me, but I soon let him do as he pleased. As long as Kalis could help me escape this arranged marriage, it would be fine. As for Theodore, he just wanted to give an example. But this woman's gentleness was chilling. So gentle that calling her a fox with a tail seemed almost absurd. But what about that style? Could it be that this is exactly what I desire? After a long moment, their lips parted. Kalis, that should be enough now, right? But he still didn't agree to my proposal. That's hard to say. I felt like this tactic wasn't going to work. And the scene that unfolded here was seen entirely by Blair from the second floor. His eyes were fixed on Theodore. He then asked the butler, who is that man called Kalis? Do you know? I've never seen such a handsome face at the manor before. The butler also came over to take a look. You must be referring to Mr. Ross's son. He serves in the Navy. But he's on leave right now, staying here to help out. Blair told the butler to thoroughly investigate Kalis's background and deliver the report to his office that night. I have a feeling there's more to that guy's gaze than meets the eye. I want to know about his achievements in the Navy. And I have to say, he looks a bit old for his age. Meanwhile, I still wanted to grab Kalis and get a clear answer. On the second floor above, Rosalind poked her little head out. The grand tour was less than a month away. She had already packed all her luggage. She went to the window to take a look. She didn't see Theodore and me, so she sat down on the sofa. It would have been nice if Vanessa could have come with us, though. I can't understand why she'd refuse. I've only just graduated, yet I'm already facing the fate of being sold off. Blair couldn't do anything either. His uncle was desperate to settle the matter. Perhaps a quick marriage is actually the fastest way for Vanessa to gain her freedom. Besides, in this day and age, it's not uncommon for married people to have lovers. Hearing this, Rosalind spoke to Blair with a serious expression. Vanessa's relationship with us is really important. We can't let the friendship we've built over so many years be destroyed like this. And also, think about your fiancé. You agreed to that marriage yourself, didn't you? Hearing Rosalind say this, Blair bit his lip and said, as for my fiancé, I know better than anyone. You don't need to remind me. No one understands better than I do. Several days later, Theodore was pruning in the woods when he saw that another new old man had come to discuss marriage with my uncle. He saw the utter helplessness on my face. A maid nearby happened to be serving them tea. If only the young lady could marry Baron Howard. At least he's much better than this man. That Earl has a terrible reputation. He's been married several times, but he's never officially let any of his wives go. Rumor has it that any attractive maid in his estate is unable to escape his clutches. They say he also has an illegitimate child with a former beauty, our poor lady. She's so lovely. It would be a disaster if she married him. Theodore asked the maid why they had to marry the young lady off, forcing her to live such a vulgar life. Are they planning to use Vanessa's dowry to bury what little dignity the family has left? The maid explained, you've been at the military camp for so long. You probably don't know, their father's businesses have all been lost. Now, the only thing they have left to sell is the young lady herself. It's so pitiful. Back when the old Earl and Countess were still alive. Who could have ever predicted things would end up like this? And just then, Theodore noticed the old Earl's hand was getting a little too bold, but Vanessa didn't dare to resist. The Earl was heard saying, I hear you've just graduated from school, is that right? And that you're quite close with the young Marquis of Winchester. My uncle told the Earl not to worry. I can personally guarantee that there's nothing going on between my niece and the young Marquis. They've just been friends since childhood. Hearing my uncle's disgusting words, I trembled with rage. What kind of uncle in this world acts like this? Then, I heard the Earl say he was quite pleased with me and set the wedding for autumn. Doesn't this mean my doom is just around the corner? I didn't want to be ordered around like this, so I turned my head away and stopped listening to their conversation. At that moment, I saw Ross across the way. The look in his eyes was so captivating. If only he could save me. But he had already refused my proposal. Though, I suppose that's to be expected. Who would want to live burdened with a title like that? As evening fell, I found Ross again. Ross noticed my approach as well. I asked him to wait, can we please have a proper talk? But he felt there was nothing left for us to discuss. I stepped in front of him, blocking his path. She slowly lowered her head, wondering what he wanted to do. I'd made up my mind. You kissed me before, and then you rejected my proposal. Does that mean you have no feelings for me? But things were a bit rushed back then. If you kissed me again now, I'm sure I could do better this time. Theodore was speechless. Even if we did it again, it wouldn't change the fact that I have absolutely no feelings for you. But I couldn't just give up. So I grabbed him. I'm already engaged to Count Robden. I'm set to marry him this fall. As I said this, my hands were trembling slightly. Theodore asked, why don't you just go out and find someone? But he doesn't know that I'm strictly forbidden from going outside. The castle is the only place I'm not watched so closely. And I can't bring anyone in, because this place is crawling with my uncle's spies. My every move is being watched by countless people. I can't leave even if I want to. Because my parents are buried here and I'm the only one who visits them. The only one who takes care of their graves. Theodore couldn't understand this at all. Are you going to stay here and endure all this humiliation for the dead? Let yourself become nothing more than gossip and a scandal for high society? He looked so cold. Shall he? Do you really not remember me? We used to play together all the time when we were kids. Theodore couldn't help but think, maybe I should tell her now. I'm not who she thinks I am. But if I tell her the truth, she might go looking for the real Hiluosi. And in the end, that naive Hiluosi might actually agree to her proposal. I knew a proposal like this would make Hiluosi uncomfortable. But there's a reason I kept pushing. It's because he's a complete outsider. Even if he gets caught up in my scandal, it won't ruin him, because he's not a nobleman. So he has no reputation to lose. Hearing this, Theodore laughed. If I were a nobleman, you would have never made this offer, would you? Because if I were involved in a scandal with a nobleman, they could try to extort him. And if that happened, my uncle would do anything to sell me off to him. That's not something I want to happen. It would only end up hurting some young lord. I have no desire to be tied to anyone through marriage. Honestly, marriage is meaningless unless it's with someone you truly love. I promise I won't ruin Hiluosi's vacation, and I won't cause him any trouble. The scandal will break after he's gone. All eyes will be on me, and me alone. I grabbed his hand and pleaded, it's summer now. Everything will be over and gone in a single season. Theodore had 3 choices. The first was to accept my offer, like any normal person would. To save me from this mess, in his capacity as a duke. The second was to ignore my proposal and let this otherwise perfect summer vacation come to an end. So the answer was obvious. I wanted to enjoy myself here a little longer. As for this poor woman in front of me, yesterday's experience was more than enough for me. Just then, I choked. Theodore didn't understand what was happening. But I was already frozen in fear. Something felt very wrong with my throat. Theodore told me not to panic. Just breathe down, deep breaths. What he didn't know was I felt like a spider had crawled into my throat. Left with no other choice, Theodore had to move behind me. He carefully checked my back and found a spider resting on my hair. I asked him if he saw the spider, but he said he wasn't quite sure either. Was that really a spider? Maybe you just mistook a strand of hair for one. But I don't think that's possible. Can a strand of hair crawl? I really think a spider crawled into my throat. I was hoping he could do me a favor. And that was to check. As I said those words, my whole body was trembling, and the blush on my face grew even deeper. Theodore couldn't tell if this was some kind of new and cunning trick. Or if the woman in front of him was just being reckless and naive. But he knew he couldn't just let it go. But one thing worried Theodore. He truly had no idea what might happen next. While we were dealing with the bug, Theodore actually agreed to my request. Because he found it very amusing. But once summer is over, are you sure you won't come crying and clinging to me? So, I decided to make a bet with him. We bet on which of us would get attached to the other first. He also mentioned that he couldn't have children. With this, it might tarnish his reputation a little. And during this time, I only had one condition for him. That we must be completely faithful to each other. I need you to take this seriously. This isn't a joke, and it's not something you can just erase. After a few casual dates, we were just like a real couple. So, what do you think? The next moment, he took my hand. It sounds interesting, I suppose I can agree to that. The most interesting part of this whole arrangement was that neither of us would be the first to admit we'd fallen for the other. Before I knew it, evening came, and I went to Theodore's room. Looking around, I noticed the place was rather shabby. Theodore told me to wait here for a bit, and that if I got tired, I should just go ahead and sleep. He said he was going out to get some hot water, and then he left. I was all alone in the room, and the tense atmosphere immediately vanished. I relaxed quite a bit. I always feel so nervous when I'm with him. Besides, everything that happened today was so embarrassing, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Just then, I noticed something on his desk. Just as Theodore came back with the water, he saw me sitting furtively in front of his desk. "What are you doing?" His voice sent a shiver down my spine. "I'm surprised, you have quite a few valuables here. I've only ever seen luxury items like these in a friend's room before." So I got a little curious. "Is the salary in the Navy really that high?" He replied nonchalantly, "The Navy's salary isn't low." He told me not to spend too much money on luxury goods, saying it was a bit of a waste. Then he came up behind me and started brushing my hair. "Your hair looks really soft. Maybe I could braid it into something nice." And then I realized, he actually knew how to braid hair. And it looked pretty good. "How did you learn to braid like this? Have you done this for other girls before?" He just smiled without saying anything. "I'll teach you next time." Half an hour later, I was back in my room. My maid had been looking for me all day. Apparently, I'd been missing since lunchtime. So I made the maid very worried. I lied and said I was reading a book. But it turns out I fell asleep in the garden while I was reading. The maid suddenly understood. "No wonder your whole dress is stained green from the grass. And your hair ribbon is so dirty. It looks like this will have to be thrown away," but I stopped her. "Mary, wait a second. I don't think we need to throw this ribbon away. I have a feeling that one day, I'll wear it again." Meanwhile, in a rundown shack, Theodore looked at the towel in his hands. He had just used it to wipe my face and hair. In complete contrast to me, he just tossed the towel onto the floor. While I, on the other hand, had kept the ribbon perfectly safe. Theodore just laid down on his bed. At this moment, the connection between us